Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. It's Tim Wilmot here from Wizard Systems. I'm joined this morning by Peter Johnson, my colleague Peter Johnson, and welcome to our September Hangout for Workbooks CRM, our regular series of workbooks presentations on different topics around workbooks and CRM, just helping you get the most out of your workbook CRM investment. And this morning's presentation is going to be on Web Insights, sort of following on from our Gator Mail. Some of you I know attended our Gator Mail, the most popular email marketing solution for workbooks, very tightly integrated workbooks. And this morning we're going to cover a kind of sister product, Web Insights, which some of you may be aware of, but we want to try and explain exactly what it is and why you should be using it. Now, this presentation is going to be about 20 minutes or so in duration. It's just an overview of this feature. It's not meant to be an in-depth full presentation training. My company, Wizard Systems, offer many extensive training options. And if you want to take a deeper dive into Web Insights, just let us know and we can organize a time convenient for you and your colleagues. Now, the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and we'll do our best to answer those at the end. Probably best to type them in as you think of them rather than waiting to the very end of the session. Also, we'll give you an update on any workbooks product news at the end. The call is being recorded. So after the presentation, you will get an email with a link to recording, which you can share with your colleagues, play back whenever you want to, and we'll most likely pop it up on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so let's get started. Just a very brief mention about us before I pass over to my colleague Peter, that will take you through Web Insights. So I know a lot of you on the call are familiar with us, but all we do is CRM. We've been doing it a long time. We've implemented well over 3,000 systems all over the UK into different types of companies, mainly small and medium-sized businesses is our focus. And we provide the total service around workbooks. So if you want any implementation help, customization help, writing scripts, training can be at your place. Our place, we're based just north of Bristol, or we can do it online if that's more convenient for you. And we've got a friendly, responsive help desk service as well. So I'll come back to you after Peter's taken us through Web Insights. I'm now going to hand over to Peter.
Hi Tim, can you hear me okay?
Yep, and we'll shortly just swap over screens here.
Right, so you see my screen okay?
Yep, looking good.
Okay, so good morning to everybody. So as Tim mentioned, I'm just going to take you through the Web Insights functionality within workbooks, the add-on which does use the Gator product as well. You don't have to have Gator Mail to run Insights. So I'm going to go through a bit of an overview, show you how it kind of fits together and works. Online activity and reporting within workbooks, so the visibility of the information that's coming across from your website, and then talk about some preparation in terms of we need to kind of think about perhaps prior to implementation, and then as Tim mentioned, take any questions from you. I think Tim would be reading them out, and I'll do my best between us to answer them. So feel free to type as you go along, and we'll get to those at the end. So just to start off then, really just as a bit of an overview of how this Web Insights tools work. So really it's a way of tracking the visits to your web pages. So essentially what you do on your website, on each of your pages, place some tracking code, which then talks to the Gator product, which then in turn will push that data into your workbooks application. So when anybody visits the site, when any organization, it resolves the IP address of the visitor, places that against a domain name, and then populates it straight into workbooks. And then because of the tools that are available through the enrichment facility is it will update and enrich any records that need to be done. So the organization names, leads, organization type, industry, number of employees, and so on. So really, really powerful information coming across, and being able to see when somebody is landed on a page and their journey, their digital footprint, if you like, throughout your website. Now, it's a really good idea when you're setting this up is to decide on the type of importance of the pages that they're visiting. So one of the things that we do during the implementation is get you to think about what type of pages you have and what type of visit is logged against that type of page. So I've put an example of some categories here. So the awareness pages, so really kind of your home page, information about your company, that type of thing, might stretch into the research one. But then there's the two next ones, and the idea of these is to give some kind of points to these so that you can see how important a visit is. So if they are interested or a purchase is intended, then the points are kind of higher. So if you're getting this feedback from the web page itself into your workbooks against a lead or an organization or a customer that you've already got, you can kind of tell hopefully what sort of intent they have in terms of the visit itself, and you can jump on that because reporting is then available. So that was a quick view of really what it does, but essentially you're tracking pages on your website, you're tracking the visits to those pages, and those visits are then logged within workbooks. So let's just jump in and take a look at some data that I've already got here. So this is the standard demo system. You've seen this before if you've visited any of these or attended any of these webinars, these 101 sessions. So let me just delve into the first place so you can see this information coming across. Bear in mind, this is an example. So this is the website that's got these codes on it, and it's implemented and integrated with workbooks already. I guess the first area is with online activity. Now, those that visited or attended the last session with the Gator Mail would know all of your clicks and opens come through here. But let me just filter this landing page just quickly, and web. Let's just apply that. So you can see here I've got a whole load of web page views. So this is a typical tracking. This is coming across from your website and logging the information into workbooks. Let me take a look at one of these. So this one here as an example. So this is a typical online activity record within workbooks. It tells us what type of activity it is, when it happened, the exact date and time. This is that scoring. So what you would do is have these scores applied to those pages, and this one is clearly less important, so one of those research type ones, I would imagine. And then the record that matches the domain name. So if you've got a web address against that record, you'd know who it is, and if it's a person, their email address can be tracked as well. And if I open that record, this is the web page, incidentally, that they went to, so it looks like the home page. And if I click on the record, you can see I've added some extra fields here to enable us to see the kind of full picture of what's going on. So I've got this Web Insights section, which is currently hidden. If I open that up, you can see here there's a bit of that information, that enrichment that's coming across. It tells us that this particular lead is in the telecoms industry and what information we have. And there's a bit of that scoring going on. Now, what I've done here is applied that score and added it up into the very recent, yesterday and today, what visits they've done last 7 days, last 30 days, and in total as well. And there's some more information as well based on a report. So we can see when that report loads, you can just see that kind of broken down a little bit more. But if you wanted to see it in detail, if we scroll up, we're looking at Isabel Walker here. If I look at this online tab, now the record that I showed you before in the background was the total online records within workbooks, so using the landing page, but of course at a record level, so that would be a lead, an organization, or a person, you can see all of their visits, when it happened, and each one of these is an individual web page visit, and you can see this particular one happened back in November last year at this time, what browser they used, if it's available, and so on. So all the time you can track this in very minute detail, so the digital footprints that your records have within the system. And you can see here that the landing page is showing a great deal of that information. So once you've got that information, what do you do with it? Well, clearly, if you're gauging and giving scores to pages, it would be nice to know who's visiting the most, who has an intention to purchase. If it's a lead or a prospect, you can do all of that reporting because it's logged against the record. Let's take a look at a dashboard here. So a quick view of a Web Insights dashboard. Incidentally, if you implement the Web Insights tool, these dashboards and reports are pre-built. Of course, they're reports within workbooks, so you can adjust and amend them, copy them, and do what you will with them after the implementation. But let's take a look here. So the top little part of the dashboard here is sales leads, and you can see here I've got a list of the sales leads, how I've rated them. Now this star is based on the number of or scores added up. You can see the lower scores, they go down to a different number of stars. This is a typical reporting tool within workbooks where you can give rules to kind of different colors and so on. Fonts. So this particular record here, Justin Tiley Consulting, has been quite prevalent in terms of the visits. Let's have a look in a bit more detail. So I'm just doing exactly the same as I did on that last record. Well, you can see recently hasn't done too much in the last 7 days, but of course in the last month or so he's done a good deal of visits. I've got a bit more insight on the organization itself in terms of revenue, industry, and so on. And if I wanted to look in a little bit deeper, I can see on his online tab where he went, exactly what he clicked on in terms of pages and so on. So these reports, you can see the others are very, very similar. So if we take just a quick look, I've got organizations because the organizations will be tracked as well. So a lead has an organization, of course, a domain name, the organization internally. And one of the big benefits of using the Insights tool is the ability to track people, individuals that visit your website. Often these type of tools can tell you what organization visited, but there are ways of tracking the individual. If you email these people, so perhaps you have a marketing campaign, you email them, you can include some code, some tracking code within those emails that allows then when they visit your website, there's a small cookie drop onto the PC of the individual. So any subsequent visits, you know exactly who it was rather than just the organization they work for. So Alan Whitehead is quite busy here on our website. So if I click on Alan's record, you can see here online, we can again go down to my Web Insights section to see the type of interaction he's had, and of course the online tab will tell me in a lot of detail. So you can use this for reporting, create alerts and so on in terms of if somebody meets a milestone, you could have them in a particular report and be able to contact them straight away. So here's just the last one in this little dashboard coming from a report. Is just an overview by month, and of course you can drill into these in normal workbooks fashion. So Alan Whitehead did these 23 page visits in November, so I can drill into those if I wanted to and see that in detail, of seeing where he went and what he did, in terms of the strong detail that you need to be able to react to this, because it's all very well getting this information, but it's having the ability to use it in a way that's going to be constructive and of course build business. So that's the reporting that's going on within workbooks, and that happens automatically. Because this is using the Gator product, there's also some reporting on the Gator product itself. So you get, there's not much detail here, I apologize for that. This is my little test system, but you can see, I can see a diary or a Gantt view, if you like, of a date frame of my visits, a breakdown of industries, countries, and company sizes. That's enrichment, intelligence. You can zoom into certain areas in a bit more detail. You can click and drag and zoom into particular kind of sections of that date range. You can even see, if you wanted to, currently who's online of which page. So this is a live feed, so you'd get a list view here of which lead, contact, competitors and so on are on your page currently, and be able to see the live journey as it happens. So this is prior to its going into workbooks, if you like. So it takes the detail here and then passes that into workbooks. Okay, so that was a very quick visit round. I'm pretty certain there's not a massive amount of training or anything required here. This is just using your standard knowledge within workbooks, being able to report on and generate lists that you want to be able to action based on that interaction. So the integration is there, working, and just updates the live information into workbooks. Okay, so let me just go back to that slide. So in terms of what we've just kind of looked at, the Web Insights tool is fully integrated with workbooks. So it has that tie-in between those your web page and that product. It's tracking any of those visitors. So it uses IP addresses to identify the organizations, and cookies based on those emailing to identify those particular individuals at a person level. And I think that's one of the strengths here. There's a few of these types of products around, but very few can track it at an individual level. And we've added the page scoring and categories to those, so it enables you to categorize the type of pages that you would like tracked, and then that online activity gives you that digital footprint. So this is just a bit of an overview of what we've just covered in terms of the online activities automatically connected to the record of the organization, the person, or the lead, and that score is passed across to workbooks as well. So because it tracks each one, then you can do totals and see who is reacting the best to your website, your shop front, if you like. Okay, so in terms of implementation, the integration with the Web Insights is free. So we would make that link between the Gator Lead product into workbooks, along with a number of reports, and that dashboard that you saw is all out of the box and is implemented free of charge. So what you would need to do is, if you were considering, if you haven't already purchased this, You need to consider the annual page views. Tim may come in with some pricing in a moment and show you. There are some prices on the website there of what those costs are. So annual page views is your best way of kind of putting some budget together for that, and then consider any workbooks or Web Insight training. There's very little Web Insights training that's required. We generally help people with this page scoring, show how that's done, but that's pretty much it. But if you do need some extra tuition on building reports and customizing those, maybe building those little kind of colored stars in a field, there's some scripting there, or not scripting, but a deeper dive into reporting, if you like, if you need that. So the training is variable, and we very much customize it to the requirements. It could be as short as an hour or up to a day. So something to consider there in terms of your knowledge. So Tim, is there anything you want to add there?
No, I think as you said, Peter, there are some other products out there that some of you may be using for doing for tracking your website visits. For example, Lead Forensics is quite a popular one in the UK, but we're better than that. And the key thing is this system is fully integrated with workbooks, so you can see that online tab. You're sharing this information with all the people that need to see it. When salespeople call on a client, they want to know the activity of that customer, what recent web pages they looked at, identify any cross-selling or upselling opportunities by looking at the different product pages that particular prospect or lead has glanced through. So you're sort of sharing and empowering this information to your colleagues rather than keeping it within the marketing department. It's vitally important to share this information. It's done automatically with workbooks, so users don't need any training. But it's a good idea to communicate. If you're introducing this great tool into your workbook system, you've got to communicate that to your users and just show them around that online tab. If you are using Gator Mail, which we covered the other week, then that online tab is an amalgamation of all of this Gator Mail, the email marketing activity and the website visits. They're all there on that online tab, but can obviously be split out because all the information is stored in the workbooks database. It's not sort of a report somewhere or in another application. It's all within workbooks. So hopefully that's given you a good idea, a little brief introduction into it. If you do want a more detailed presentation, talk it through your environment, you've got any specific issues, objectives that you think that Web Insights could be applied to, then we'd be more than happy in organizing more of a tailored demonstration one-to-one with you at a time convenient for you. So if you've got any questions, please type those into the question section on your meeting control panel. I think there's a couple that have come through that I saw. Let me just have a look at those. So Nisha, can I use any emailing tool to send tracking code to track people?
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, you can. Well, I say any email tool, any that you can mail merge into. So all of the normal ones, MailChimp.mailer, Gator Mail, of course, workbooks even. So if you're using workbooks to do your mail shots, which you can, as long as you can put some merging into the tracking code. So essentially you put a hyperlink to a web page with some parameter after that. Normally it's the email address. There's a good example online actually in the help files. In fact, I might even have that page up. Let me just give you a quick view. Maybe not. Okay, I thought I'd got the page up, had it up earlier, but you can add some code to those hyperlinks. So yes was the very short answer to that, Tim. And Nisha, was it? Yes. So,
yeah. So he's using MailChimp or whatever. Very straightforward. But take a look at take a look at Gator, which I say is tightly integrated to workbooks as another alternative for you. Next question from William. Can I prevent certain pages from being tracked?
Oh yes, and it's quite important that you do, I think, because there are some pages that are really kind of not, you might have a particular page where you've got a landing page for somebody after they've done some event or something of that nature. We would recommend that you put the tracking code on every single page, but during the setup where you apply those scores and so on, you can actually pick which pages are not tracked. And of course, that has some impact on the pricing levels of your annual page hits as well, because you don't want to track certain pages, then it's not taken into account in terms of the charges and so on. So
yeah, probably good to review that. Yeah. Okay, William, I don't think there's any questions coming through. If any late questions come through, I'll answer those separately via email. So it just remains for me to thank you for attending this call or listening to us if you're watching it on our YouTube channel. Any suggestions on future topics? I think we might be doing mapping next time, Pete, might we? The mapping extension to workbooks, which I know a few people have taken up. A great tool to see graphically, visually where your contacts are and nearest distances and so on. There's lots of stuff in there in that mapping module. So potentially we may be covering that in the next session. So watch out for our invitations to the Workbooks Hangout sessions from Wizard Systems. But thanks very much for your time. You've got our contact details up there. Of course, pricing on this, we can give you exact pricing. It would be added on a pro rata account if you're using Workbooks already. It would be added on a pro rata account to your general subscription. But go to workbooks.com, click on pricing. You'll see, if you need to scroll down a little bit, you'll see the pricing there based on annual page views. A great product enhancement for workbooks for tracking all of your website visits and turning those leads into customers. So thanks very much for your attention on this call and your support of Wizard System and Workbooks. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.